Coming up on UGTV, Board of Commission meeting of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
All right. Good evening. Before we begin, I want to announce that anyone who is interested in addressing the Commission on the public hearing agenda regarding the proposed 2021 Unified Government Budget and the 2020 Community Development One-Year Action Plan may sign up at either of the tables located by the chamber doors. So if you want to address those, you must sign up. If you have not yet signed up on your way in and wish to address the commission on that item, please go to one of those tables on either side and sign up. And when that item is up for discussion, the clerk will call the names in order according to the sign-up sheets. She will also announce who's on deck, which means you'll be next to the podium. When you come to the podium located by the railing up front, please state your name and city of residency for the record. You will be given up to 3 minutes to state your comments. The clerk will announce when you have 1 minute remaining to allow you time to conclude your comments. Would you please call the meeting to order?
Roll call. Johnson.
Here.
Kane. Here. Markley.
Here.
Walters.
Here.
Philbrook.
Here.
Bynum.
Here.
Burrows.
Here.
Townsend.
Here.
McKiernan.
Here.
Ramirez.
Here.
Alvey.
Here. This evening, our invocation is being given by Chaplain Al Henniger, Clinical Pastoral Education Supervisor for the University of Kansas Health System. Please stand, remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Most Holy God, we come to you in this time of sacred trust of responsibility that the citizens of this city and county have placed into these council people. I pray that you would guide them, lead them through the decisions that they make. May their lives be worthy of the trust and their decisions worthy of the trust that this population has given them. Bless this, our county, bless this, our city. May it grow, may it prosper. May those who are evil be brought to justice, and may those who are good be lifted on high. We pray these things in your holy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chaplain Henniger. I'd ask the clerk, are there any revisions to tonight's agenda?
There are no revisions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Our first order of business is the appointment of Commissioners Bynum and Markley to witness the destruction of election ballots that are no longer needed. Any comments or questions from the commission?
Move to approve as submitted.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Roll call.
Roll call. Johnson.
Aye.
Kane. Markley.
Aye.
Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
The vote is 10-0. That motion carries.
Thank you. Next on to our consent agenda. Does any member of the commission or the county administrator wish to set aside any item on the consent agenda? If an item is not set aside, all items on the consent agenda will be voted on by one vote.
Move to approve all as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call Johnson.
Aye.
Kane. Markley.
Aye.
Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
The vote is 10-0. That motion carries.
Thank you. Next, our public hearing to receive citizen comments on the proposed 2021 Unified Government Budget and the 2020 Community Development One-Year Action Plan. Mr. Bach, would you offer some opening remarks?
Thank you, Mayor. Commission, members of the public, tonight is the opportunity that we make early in the year as we begin our budget process with our staff. Before we get into that with everyone, for the members of the public to come in and weigh in on priorities that they think the unified government should think about in looking at our 2021 budget, and then also to talk about issues that may come forward when we look at our community development program and our one-year action plan associated with that. To move through this and set it off, I'm going to recognize Reginald Lindsay, our budget director, who's going to come forward and offer a brief presentation.
Good evening, everyone. The slide we have on the screen right now is for the proposed 2021 budget calendar. There's a few things different about it. Some of the things we've done is this year we're moving the budget process, a majority of our workshops to before we present the 2021 budget. So we're going to have our first budget workshop May 7th, and then we're going to have our second one on May 21st, and then we're going to publish the maximum mill levy. These are all things that we would do before we present or after we usually present the budget. But what we want to do this year is we want to include the commission and the rest of the governing body in the budget process and have them help us make decisions with the 2021 budget. And then we move to approve the budget on July 16th. Take the vote there.
I'll come back in this, and I'll recognize now why Mr. Lindsay gave me that funny look when he came up. I forgot part of was to weigh in here. So last year, as we went through when we went through the budget process, Commission, as they have weighed in, that they feel like a lot of the workshops that come about after we present don't allow for them to give the input where they want to put it. So that's why we've instituted a couple of these in the May timeframe. It really sets out for us to go through this. And additionally, where we move the maximum mill levy piece up, kind of goes in with that because it gives you the opportunity to say, okay, well, that's as high as we're going to go on that mill rate. You know, we can always reduce, as you all know, but we can set that out in advance if we're looking to lower it or at least where it's going to be, and we know we're not going to go over that as we move into the presentation. So this really, we're still working through this, just what we'll do with these workshops. And if there's some concerns or whatever the commission had, I would welcome your comments now that you have a chance to see this and kind of think through it. But our intent is that in presenting the budget, where I've worked with the commission quite a bit, or we'll talk and have discussions in advance, this will really have given us the opportunity to do those workshops in advance. And then after presenting, my thought is really it's just a review to see that it's in accordance with what you've asked me to put together, and then we're ready to move forward from there because we're really not working through things after that period to change it as much. So that's where you see this calendar coming from.
All right, what I'm going to do now is kind of run through our current 2020 budget, the budget that we're using now as an organization, just to kind of give you a premise of the dollars that we're dealing with as we move into the 2021 budget process. So right now, our total budget is a $394 million budget. We have 29 funds that are part of that, and also we serve 200 services within this $394 million budget. Our largest fund is our City General Fund. At 42%, it's a $163 million budget. And then our next largest fund is the County General Fund. It is a $67 million budget. And then our next largest fund is our our enterprise funds, which consist of our EMS funds, also our public, our sewer system funds. Then our next, the next slide I'm going to drill down into, I talked about the $163 million city general fund. So basically here, what we're showing is we have public safety at 58%. That's the largest functional area for our departments. And then next we have community services, which are at 13%, and then public works, which is at very close to 12%. This next slide here, we're looking at our county general fund, which is a $67 million budget. And what we have here is basically we're covering everything in the county. So here we bring into the city of Edwardsville and Bonner Springs, also get service from this county general fund. And we see the largest functional areas as far as departments are public safety, and then also general government, and then we have judicial services. Current slide right here breaks down the consolidated general fund, which is made up of the city general fund, which again is a $163 million budget, and then also the county general fund, which is a $67 million budget, and then also included here is Parks and Rec, which is a $6 million budget. And basically what we have broken down here for you is kind of show you all the departments and their functional areas. And we see the largest is public safety, and we see the police departments in there. It has a $56 million budget. Fire department's in there with a $44.8 million budget. And then we also have public works, and then also community services at $32 million. And then at one of the third largest one is general government at 11%.
Excuse me, Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
We're having a little technical problem here. Can you get a little closer to that mic so we can maybe pick you up? Thank you.
All righty. And here we have I'm going to drill down into our capital budget. And we have an $83 million capital budget that is debt financed. The largest portion of it is our sewer fund, and that consists of projects like our Call Point biosolids digester, which is $40 million, and then also our Walcott expansion. And then we have our street projects, which total $13 million, and that includes Leavenworth Road and I-70 internal diagonal. And then we have our facilities, which would include projects that we have going on in the courthouse and also the building of some fire stations. Right now, I'm going to discuss the citizen and community stakeholder form that we have. This form can be found out on our website. Also, it's here at the two tables on both sides of the room. If someone wants to get a copy, you can download it from our website and electronically return it to us. Also, you can drop it back to the budget office, or you can email it or mail it back in. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to Wilbur Miller, our Community Development Director.
Good evening, everyone. The Unified Government receives an annual allocation of entitlement funds from HUD, or the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, for the following programs: the Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnership, and the Emergency Solutions Grant Program. HUD provides these resources for the purpose of meeting the needs of low and moderate income citizens. In order to receive these funds, we are required to submit an annual action plan. Fiscal year 2020 is the fourth year of the 2017 through 2021 five-year plan. We are waiting for our annual allocation notification from HUD and do not know at this point if there will be an increase or a reduction of funds at this time. We do anticipate notification from HUD in the next few days. They have until Tuesday. HUD has notified all grantees to conduct this citizen participation process to develop draft plans according to normal timetables and procedures. The grantee, or the Unified Government, should include a contingency provision that explains how the plan will address the actual allocation. The UG contingency provision is that any change of allocations will be addressed by distributing the difference between activities in each grant program while ensuring that administration and other activity caps are not exceeded. So we will be working on the estimated fiscal year entitlement based on last year's actual allocations. The pie chart shows sources of support that shows $2,200,000 for CDBG, $813,000 for home, and $189,000 for ESG, for a total of $3.2 million. As you can see, the approved expenditures pie chart reflects the following activities: the CDBG housing programs, NRSA infrastructure, which includes park improvements, administration, public services, and the ESG and home programs, again totaling $3.2 million. Home activities will include down payment assistance and construction or rehab of affordable housing, and ESG activities includes homeless prevention, essential services, rapid rehousing, and homeless management information system. This evening, we are fulfilling the HUD requirement to hold a public hearing to obtain comments from citizens and other stakeholders before developing the budget and the draft annual action plan. We are seeking to assure that citizens participate and understand that the proposed plan will address housing and community development needs, the development of proposed activities, and review of program performance. The draft plan will be published in early June to meet the 30-day citizen comment period. A second public hearing will be held along with the budget hearing and is scheduled to be held in July. And the adoption of the UG revised 2020 and proposed 2021 budget and the 2020 annual action plan will also take place in July. The final action plan must be submitted to HUD no later than August 15th. According to federal regulations, failure to meet that requirement will automatically result in a loss of funding. And this concludes my portion of the presentation.
Thank you. With that, Mayor, I would recommend we move to the public hearing on both of these proposed budgets.
Very good. Commissioner McKinnon, you had a comment?
Nothing earth-shaking here, but I do want to thank Administrator Bach and all of our staff for continuing to consistently make improvements to the budget process itself. I know that Commissioner Markley and I 8 years ago had some concerns about both the timing and the construction of the budget sequence, and it seems that every year you have taken another deliberate step, like moving the public hearing this early, like considering citizen survey data before the construction of the budget, and I think this new step of moving some of our workshops before setting the mill levy and before seeing the first draft is another very positive step toward making sure that we have a thoughtful and well-constructed budget. So thank you very much to Administrator Bach and all the staff who I know work very hard on this.
Thank you. I'll now open the public hearing. Before we take public comments, I ask Mrs. Cobbins to read the statement governing this public hearing.
We would like to welcome all present to this public meeting of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, regarding the Unified Government 2021 proposed budgets and the 2020 through 2021 Annual Action Plan for Community Development. We appreciate the attendance of those people here this evening, and we recognize the importance of your views. We would, however, remind you that there are 3 individuals signed up to speak on the 2021 proposed budgets and the 2020 to 2021 Annual Action Plan for Community Development. Each person will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Should you go to the 2-minute mark, I will announce that you have 1 minute remaining, and that will allow you time to wrap up your comments. As you come to the microphone, please state your name and city for the record. On deck means that you will be next to the podium. We would appreciate your efforts to be considerate to all during their comments. We ask that anyone with a cell phone to please turn them off or switch to non-audio so you will not disturb the hearing or recording purposes for our viewers. Heather Hoffman to the podium. Aaron Stryker will be on deck.
Thank you, Commissioners, and good evening. First of all, my name is Heather Hoffman. My city of residence is Kansas City, Missouri. I do ask that I may present essentially a letter of intent for your your time to read. Would that be all right? Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. So, as mentioned, my name is Heather Hoffman. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Kansas City Coalition to End Homelessness. We are known as the Continuum of Care Lead Agency. That is a HUD designation. Our role in the community as a Continuum of Care Lead Agency is to secure right around $13.9 million in HUD funding. This is done through an annual process, an annual application process through HUD. Every year, we are responsible for making sure that every program, there's around 40 programs that are receiving that funding, both in Wyandotte and Jackson County. We are responsible for making sure that agencies and programs properly are able to apply. We also have to, as a COC lead agency, submit a full application known as the consolidated application in order to continue to secure that $13.9 million of funding. This funding is for homeless service providers in both, again, Wyandotte and Jackson counties. We offer, as the lead agency, monitoring, technical support, including HUD regulation expertise to well over 40 programs. We actually have well over 100 member agencies as part of our membership who participate at our monthly meetings, again, to help follow along with our HUD guidance and other best practices when it comes to ending homelessness in our community. Our job also is to create policy, process, ongoing best practices for all of the various HUD-required programs within our community. For instance, coordinated entry might be a term that some folks are familiar with.
You have 1 minute, ma'am.
Thank you. Coordinated entry includes assessing every single person identifying as homeless, prioritizing their individual situation, and then finding and matching them to housing opportunities through meetings held every week with service providers. We know that we have well over 2,000 homeless individuals in Wyandotte County and Jackson County combined. Wyandotte County, once again this year, through a point-in-time count we have learned, has around 25% of that 2,000 number. As such, the Wyandotte agencies who are providing services to these homeless clients who are getting funding through this HUD-secured funding, Kim Wilson, Salvation Army, Metropolitan Lutheran Ministries, and Hillcrest. Through the funding that we secure through HUD, that's around $2 million worth of funding that goes to those agencies in Wyandotte County. So as such, the work that we're doing, of course, takes resources. We are going to be requesting a direct line item budget amount of $75,000 to assist us in the work that we're doing for the direct results that you will be seeing and are seeing in Wyandotte
Your time
to
is
help
up,
your
ma'am.
homeless individuals. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Aaron Stryker to the podium. Bill Harbrink, you'll be on deck.
Good evening. My name is Erin Stryka. I'm with Rosedale Development Association, and this is Chandra Ward with Turner Community Connections. We are here tonight representing the 8 neighborhood business revitalization organizations that serve Kansas City, Kansas. The MBR system is unique to our city and has proven to be an effective way to organize neighborhoods, attract new development, build up local business, and beautify communities.
So in 2019 alone, the Leavenworth Road Association worked with youth volunteers to repair the homes of 40 families and correct code violations. Central Avenue Betterment Association provided 4 major events that reached more than 25,000 residents. They did 5 programs ranging from community pride, personal leadership, entrepreneurship, that touched more than 500 residents. And CABA also partnered with UG as well as other organizations and foundations to continue the strengthening of local residents' economy by promoting local investment and community planning.
Turner Community Connections worked with the Police and Codes Department to reduce blight and crime on 15 different issues, trained and placed 20 Turner students in summer jobs, promoted neighborhood businesses with 4 new businesses in the monthly newsletter, and have sponsored or participated in 15 trainings, community meetings, and events for Turner residents and businesses.
Downtown shareholders oversaw the completion of the Modular Business Incubator, which now hosts its first micro-business, and continued its Clean and Safe program, answering over 16,000 calls for service and collecting over 25 tons of trash.
Rosedale Development Association launched a new job board connecting Rosedale employers to Rosedale job seekers.
You have 1 minute, ma'am.
Thanks. Repaired the homes of 16 seniors and people with disabilities and served 680 Rosedale youth in programs that have been shown to improve participants' physical health, financial literacy and job readiness, and civic and community engagement. Argentine Betterment Corporation continued their stellar work employing young people to clean up and beautify the Argentine community with special attention to the entry points to Argentine.
Historic Northeast, they hosted monthly meetings with individuals and businesses interested in new construction and/or rehabbing houses in the Northeast area, and partnered to host the first Project Pipeline event for area youth, which approximately 25 youth from across the metro attended the 3-day event.
Armourdale Renewal Association has been in the process of rebuilding, and even in the midst of rebuilding their organization from the ground up, they held the first Armourdale Fall Festival, which was a great way to gather families
Your
from the
time
community.
is up, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bill Hurlbrink to the podium will be our last speaker.
Hello, my name is Bill Hurlbrink, 4316 North 112th Street, and I own a business at 5938 State Avenue, both here in lovely Kansas City, Kansas. I'm here for a few reasons tonight. Number one is because I saw Commissioner Bynum post that there's a public hearing tonight, and I figured, you know what, I didn't have much else better going on this Thursday night, and I wanted to come hang out with you guys. Secondly, I wanted to show my neighbors and my peers out in the community that there's a time to come down and speak directly to you guys as you are involved in this months-long process of how our tax money is used here locally in the community. And it's a little disappointing that I'm the only third person to be here tonight. And that's frustrating for me as a resident of the city, because there's a lot of people that complain a lot on Facebook. And that brings me to the other thing I want to talk about tonight is, as we go through the priorities that you're looking at through these next few months before we get to finalizing the budget, can we please make sure we prioritize the communications that come out of this building? And I know that there's a lot of it, and I know we've come a long way in the last 7 years since I feel like I've been more involved in what happens and what happens here. I know more about what happens here. So I don't know what that looks like. You know, I handle some media in one of my jobs, but I don't know what a city government communicating with its residents in a city like ours best practices looks like. So I would just encourage us to make the resources available to the communications wing of our city. God bless Mike Taylor, he's doing a lot, and I hope that you guys give him more to work with so he can better do his job to more communicate your vision with all of us sitting out here. Thank you.
Well, just to be clear, Bill, we actually are in the process. We've entered into an agreement to have an agency. I'm sorry? Microphone's not there, sorry. Okay, I just talk louder. Sorry, geez, I've never been accused of being weak voice. But we are already doing an assessment of our communications needs. We're going to get recommendations about how to better structure that whole process. So thank you for your comments. Yeah. So we'll now close the public hearing. I'd like to thank each of you, all three of you, 4, 5, who came out tonight to make comments to our public hearing process. And as Mr. Hurlbrink said, it's always great for people to take the opportunity to come out and make their feelings known. So that takes us now to our standing committee agenda. We're basically setting a public hearing date of March 26th to consider the downtown campus redevelopment district. This item was presented last Monday to the Economic Development Finance Standing Committee and received a unanimous vote of approval to be fast-tracked to tonight's meeting. But again, this is just to set the public hearing. At the public hearing, there'll be a full presentation and discussion of that proposal. And so our vote tonight is to set that public hearing. Commissioner Burrows, who chaired the standing committee meeting, do you have anything to add?
Mayor, the pouring of support from the community was quite exciting and refreshing to know that people are interested in what we're doing downtown. And as you stated, it was a unanimous decision to pass it out favorably.
Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve as submitted.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call Johnson.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
The vote is 10-0. That motion carries.
Thank you. We have 3 items under the administrator's agenda. Mr. Bach, would you please present the first item? Commissioner McKiernan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could just please, talking about communicating, even though we did not present anything about this project here tonight, on YouTube, on the UG channel, you can find the full video of the full presentation and the discussion, so that if you all are not aware of some of the preliminary ideas and plans for this development, you can look at our meeting from Monday night and get a much better idea of what the project could look like, even though we are coming back in March to finalize that plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item is acceptance of a grant that we were the recipients from Major League Baseball in the amount of $100,000. This comes to us from the Parks Department. I recommend approval, or I can have Mr. Rogers come forward and make presentation if you'd like.
Commissioner Johnson, you have a...
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to mention to Jeremy and to your staff, this is the kind of thing that that we need to continue to look for as opportunities that are outside of our control or outside of our world, to be able to find funding to come in and help us. We've got a big chip to bite off, and things like this, when we're securing monies from the outside, help us to do that. So congratulations to you, and with that, I would like to move for approval of this item.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Johnson.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markling.
Aye.
Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Vote is 10-0. That motion carries.
Thank you. Next 2 items relate to a bond sale held earlier today, and Kathleen Von Atchen is here. I'm going to summarize the results of that bond sale today. They were extremely successful. General obligation bonds in the amount of $47.5 million and temporary notes in the amount of $49 million. And because of what was happening today in the market, there were a lot of buyers on the market looking to purchase the bonds, and not very many suppliers. So we got an extremely favorable rate of about 2.13%, and that actually is about 1% less than we would have paid last year at this time. So great work, great timing. The heavens are smiling upon us. So we're happy about a 1% reduction in that, which is a 50% less on the interest cost, is extremely favorable. So.
Thank you, Mayor. If you don't mind, I'd like to introduce you to Dave McGilvery, who is our financial advisor.
Very good. Thank you, David. All right. Any questions or comments regarding?
Move to approve the resolution for the sale of municipal temporary notes, Series 2020I.
Second.
We have a motion for approval of and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Johnson.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markling.
Aye.
Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Vote is 10-0. That motion carries.
All right, so item number 3 then is the sale of city general obligation bonds, Series 2020-A.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, a question: does the ordinance and the resolution have to be approved separately? May they be bundled together?
I believe it's offered here separately.
Move to approve the ordinance authorizing and providing for the issuance of city general obligation improvement bonds, Series 2020A.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Johnson.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markling.
Aye.
Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Kiernan.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Vote is 10-0. That motion carries.
Move to approve the resolution authorizing and directing the sale of city general obligation improvement bonds, Series 2020A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Johnson.
Aye.
Kane. Markling.
Aye.
Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend. McKiernan.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Vote is 10-0. That motion carries.
Thank you. That concludes our meeting for the evening. Thank you all for your attendance. We are adjourned. Gordon, you lost.